just for you to tell us your name, when you were born, and where you were born.
Okay. My name is Morris Phillips, and I was born at March 25th, 1936. And I was born at home like everybody was, but it's about a mile right over there towards Hard Creek is where I was born.
What road was it off of?
Well, really, it would have been the Hard Creek Road.
Hard Creek Road, okay.
But I told you the other day, and I'll tell you again, where Steve, you know where Friendship Church is,
Yes,
Steve Home.
yes.
That road right there went straight to that is the main Hard Creek Road.
Oh, okay.
That's how you come out of Hard Creek and come down there to that intersection before you got to it, and then turn back. And the reason the road there, they didn't want to have to build another bridge across the Hiawassee River.
So that top part of Sunnyside wasn't there back then.
No, the road that comes down with the courthouse there, straight on down in the lake. That's how they got up from Sunnyside over. That's the main road they come. But see, we didn't have roads like now. They had wagons stuff, and everybody from his house. It's just where they could make them a little road to get to the bigger road to go to town or wherever it was.
So what are some of your earliest memories that you, even before you started school, are there any things that you can remember from those real early days from growing up down there?
About what?
About just growing up in
Oh yes, I remember a lot of stuff.
Any little stories you can hold on a second?
See, another thing that's different back then and what now, people they farmed, boy. When the corn got ready to pull, or your cattle got ready, all the neighbors got together, and they'd all come to help gather corn. And whose house is that the women had cooked meal for them. And my grandpa, there's some big old maple trees in the front yard, and it's funny. They'd all go in there and eat, and then come out and lay like a bunch of big hogs on the trees, and then, we're letting our dinner settle.
It was like a whole big community
thing. But like killing their cows and their hogs, everybody'd get together, and they'd help the woman of the house fix everything up, and they had a good time doing it, And now then, nobody's got time to do nothing but go out and take on.
Yeah. So where did you go to school, and where was that school?
Okay, I went to Hard Creek. I was 5 years old. My brother was a year and a half older than me, and he was supposed to went to school, and he wouldn't go that I went with him. So I went to starting. I was 5 years old. But where the Hard Creek Bridge is over there, and that church, it was right down there in that flat.
Okay.
And when they built that bridge and everything, they dynamited and all, we'd have to walk out the road a long way. And we wound up, they got rid of the school, and we went to school in that church up there.
Okay.
Till then the lake come in here, and then I went to Hiawassee.
So how many years did you go to the old school, the original school?
Gosh, I'd say 2 years, 2.5.
And then went to the church?
Yeah.
And then when did you go over to Hiawassee?
Yeah, then we went to right next to where the courthouse is up there in Hiawassee now. The school was right there on the right, below Hooper's, and that's where the grammar school was.
Now, how about in high school? Same place, or
no? We went. They had the big long right above McConnell Church. They had a long white building up there. That was a newer high school, but there's a great big white columns out of brick right behind that one, and I think that's where they had that some kinds of Confederates school in that building to start with.
Are there any special memories of your school days that you can?
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of memories. I got a lot of them at all.
Can you tell us a couple?
No, I had two
The
Swift on.
Are there any you can say in public?
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot. One thing about the school up there, and this got nothing to do with learning, but the Eagle Mountain over there during World War II, there's a pilot come through on the back side over there, and he crashed his airplane.
Okay, that was the story we talked about back the last time. There.
Okay, good.
Yeah, tell us about that, because I was going to ask you about that anyway, because I think I told you last time there's different people have told me different stories about that, but the story you told matched one of those stories, so I'd like to hear your story.
Well, what they done, people carried probably some pieces of that thing out,
Right.
but Scataway it's near to get in there where it's at. But the motor and everything they brought down there, and part of our school they had a cannon plant, and they put that motor. They took horses and a sled and brought it down there. The propeller on it is about that long in wood, you know, bro.
Right.
And that's what I told you the other day. We'd spin that thing, that magnet, to get some of them little girls to hold spark plugs.
R.L. Anderson brought that down with a horse on a sled.
Who brought it down?
R.L. Anderson.
Yes, sir.
And he lived over Shooting Creek at the time, but then they moved over to Scataway later. But which school did they bring the engine to?
The Hiawassee, the high school at Hiawassee. They had the old big building there with a cannon plant.
Oh, okay.
And the entrance where the cannon plant was, they just mounted that motor there, built a platform, put it on, and we'd play with it. You know, we'll pull that propeller.
I wonder whatever happened to that old engine.
I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody ought to know, but I didn't.
I wonder who might know that.
I'll tell you where, if they not destroyed all of it, I don't know where they used to keep every one of the copies of the Towns County Herald, and they're around here somewhere.
I actually checked them all, and I couldn't find anything. A couple of years ago, I went over to the library and checked every one of those old Towns County Heralds.
See, it'd be in the 40s is when that thing.
And they may not. There was a few there was some missing, and maybe
that might have been what it was. But I figured that'd be the only place that you could.
Yeah, I checked all of the civil records, the military records, couldn't find anything. So I figured that the newspaper would be the only place, and I went through like from the late 40s all the way up to the mid 50s.
Yeah.
Never could find it.
Well, I can guarantee you the motor was there.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun with that.
Well, I heard the story that it was salvaged, and I always wondered what happened to it.
Yeah, I have no idea. When I went to high school, of course, high school just right down below it, and we still went up there, and I can't remember when the thing left.
Because it's still up there. I go up there every couple of years, and the main frame of the airplane is still up there.
Still there.
Yep.
Do you fly?
No. Well, we talked about I worked at Lockheed, but I don't fly.
Yeah.
Like,
I told my boy that every one of them flying, I said, I help build them things. And we know how they're built. The hell's about riding that one.
That's what I was going to say. After working at Lockheed for so long, I wasn't that crazy about flying anymore.
No.
So do you have any more school stories from your
Well,
school?
not that I know of. My mother died when I was a year and a half old. And we lived over with my grandpa and grandma and everything. And so Daddy got married again. He married a Maryville Hunt from Young Harris. And so that.
What was when we talked about you being born, we didn't ask what your daddy's and your mother's names were.
Daddy's name was Lawrence Morris Phillips, but he was pretty short, and they called him Short. And Mildred was Mildred Drake was my mother. she is short little lady and redhead, and then she had twins, and the twins died, and then it wasn't long after that she died. But Daddy took her to Murphy, the hospital, and the kids was born. And
So that, I guess that's where you got your red hair from then.
that's it. And then mother, I call her mother. She's mother to me, and they had a better woman ever walked than her. She is the first visiting teacher they had in this county, making people go to school. But she was teaching school at Young Harris. Well, when her and Daddy got married, she moved over here, and we rode. She had a 35 Ford, and we rode with her and went to Young Harris school. One morning early, we started school, and it was cold ice. We hit that Young Harris mountain. It was crooked the way it is right now. Mama went in this curve, and that little 35 Ford just around and around. But she got it straightened out when we went on.
Yeah. So when did you finish school then?
You know, you oughtn't to ask me that.
About
In the 50s. I can't remember exactly when I did finish school, but when I got through what we call grammar school at Young Harris, then I come over here and went all the way through the high school.
Oh, okay. So you told us, last time we talked, we found out that we had something in common. We both worked at Lockheed.
Yeah.
And how did you happen to end up down in Marietta and get a job at Lockheed?
Now it just take a country boy to come up with this. I went to, my brother worked down there in Atlanta, and he knew somebody that lived next to where he did. It's Citizen Southern Bank. And I got a job at the main office of Citizen Southern Bank.
That was my first bank when I moved down.
What, Millsville Lane. I can tell you a lot of tales about them. They're good, but I started out as an office boy. Just had to take stuff everywhere, and them big shots, Millsville Lane and Wickerson, and all of them had park on Walker Street. See, it's right at 5 Point, and we had a big parking deck at Mitchell Street where that bank was, and they'd park their cars out there, and then I'd have to get in, take it over and park it, and walk back. And in the evening, Bill, I think I told you all this, he got the first Corvette Chevrolet that ever come to the South. And I drove that thing. Now I thought I was a big country boy driving that little thing over.
Yeah.
And Mr. Maxwell, he was a vice president. And my mother knew him, and he married a Oliver lady from Young Harris. And if you look over at Young Harris College, he put a lot of money in that. There's a building over there that's got his name on, Alvin Maxwell.
Oh,
he was a vice president at Lockheed. At CNS Bank.
CNS? So how did you end up in Marietta?
Okay. This is the tricky part. Just barely up the street on Marietta Street there was Lockheed's employment office.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So I went up there. I had plenty of time. Office boy, they didn't know where I was going. I went up there, put in an application, and so I got hired. And my boss at Lockheed, it's a bank, he said, Morris, you want to stay up there? No time they'll have you laid off. I said, well, I make enough money in that time. That bank didn't pay much.
Yeah.
And I can loafer.
Yeah, Lockheed was a good paying job.
And then I went to work in 1808, and you know where that's at. That's wiring up instrument panels and all that electrical stuff. And then Charles Jenkins, I don't know where y'all know him, or he worked there, and he had a real good job at Lockheed. Charles was up the top. And they said, Morris, I found a better place for you to work than where you're at. So he got me over in Spires making the -4 technical handbook.
Yeah.
And so I stayed, that's where I worked the whole time making the -4 handbook.
That was a lot better job than being down there on the floor.
Oh, gosh, yeah. See, we was over in B2 building for a long
Oh,
time.
okay.
And
B2 is almost all gone now.
oh, yeah. And then if you wanted to loaf or anything, you could take your blueprint and go down to where it was at. And a lot of times you'd need to go do that. See, we had to come up with all send it to illustrations and let them draw it all up.
Right.
And you had to get it right. So
Now, when you were at Lockheed, about how many people were? That was what, the early? Was it about the early C5
in the
days?
50s, yeah. I went 53, I think, when I went. There's 32,000 worked there.
Yeah, I was going to say it was.
We was building a Jetstar, the C-130, C-141, and modification on the B-47. Then here come the C-5, and I told you all this, but when it rolled out, the first airplane's on Stephen Phillips' birthday.
That's right, yeah.
So I remember that.
It was a big airplane.
Do you know where they still have they used to have every year an open house, but
They had that for years. And
I know.
They stopped doing that right before I retired. They stopped doing that.
do you know?
They used to have, you could bring your family in,
And that was good.
Yeah.
I mean, the family could go through there and see.
The play. I mean, it's such an amazing place if you didn't work there, and being able to walk down the line and see all the airplanes. But they stopped.
You worked there when they was building that little hummingbird. That guy got killed out there.
Yep.
I went out there where he crashed, and they was building a new house and just had the basement. That thing hit right. But for a long time, they was working on that. We was in B6 building, and they had that thing tied with a rope, and you could see him sat out there. He'd fly that thing.
Yeah,
It's vertical takeoff on a little old plane.
Yeah, it was a strange little airplane. They never built it. They only built a couple, I think, if I remember, 2 maybe.
Yeah, they didn't do a whole lot with them.
Yeah. Now, I think you told us before, was it when you were working at Lockheed that you met your wife down at the varsity? Was that
Well, I worked Lockheed at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you were still down there.
And there's a friend of mine, and I roomed with, he worked Lockheed too, and we had stayed at a boarding house down there in Atlanta. Well, this boy worked with me over there. He had a house there in Marietta, and he transferred to California, and he wanted to sell that house. So I just told him okadoke. So I bought the house on Booth Road out there right in Marietta. And no, there's a lot I got to Booth Road. Is 101 Milford Drive right off of John Shaw Road.
Still remember the address?
Yeah. So Tom stayed us aboard, and I said, you just come out here, and I've got this house for us to live here. So he knew these girls down there. And he said, let's go there down to varsity. And I said, okay. I took my car. So used to the varsity, you'd park one in there to get it out there. She had a 55 Plymouth Little Black and had all her stuff out there on the side. And Tom said, right there they are. And I said, that's good. So when I pulled in behind her, I just bumped her. Pretty good little bump. And she said she told them girls she should. Why, that idiot's getting out and coming up here. So then we later on we started going together and got married. And she is from Tallulah Falls.
Oh, okay.
And I told her, I said, don't be making fun of me from the mountains. Anybody's raised on a ditch that big.
What was her name?
Lois Evelyn Shirley was her. She was a Shirley. And Lord, we've been married a long time.
How long have you been married?
I don't even
Or
know.
shouldn't I have asked you?
I can't remember numbers worth of flip.
I'll bet she remembers.
Yeah.
Do you remember any stories growing up about how your grandparents or great grandparents came to the county?
My grandparents.
Or whoever
Oh,
came
yeah.
first?
Well, we lived down there. After Mother died, we lived with Charlie Phillips. And that was my grandpa. And going out Cedar Cliff, that old big house sat right there where that, we called it the Y, which was what it looked like. One of them goes to Iowa, and the other one went to Hayesville, and the other one went to Young Harris. And Lord, we was into a lot of stuff, but they just had horse and buggies back, you know. And but I just trying to think about it. I had a lot of stuff. I remember all the farming stuff that they done and helping with the cattle. And my grandpa always had a lot of pretty horses that he kept.
How many acres did they have over there? Do you remember?
He probably had 50 or 75. The lake took most of what he had, and he had everything out to Carl Kim's out there where Shell Cocker lived, and Grandpa owned that whole mountain and all that on that side. And then Sutton's, when you first turn in and come through there, Grady Sutton's the one that he owned that part. But we'd do a lot of squirrel hunting and, of course, fishing when the lake come in. But I'm gonna tell you about that fishing. When it gets handy, it ain't near as much fun as it is. You got to go somewhere.
Yeah, when you have to work at it.
I live on the lake. No, I don't. I'm not fishing. Gosh, ain't no telling when.
But we talking about your old land over there. We talked about the old
Cat dam.
yeah, the cat dam.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Oh, I remember. I've been all over that thing. I start to crawl up in there a long way. You know, you walk above, you can tell walking it's holler.
Yeah.
And then that Indian had cut that hole in the side that where they put their stuff. Yeah. And I know they've been up in there, but when it's about that high, you get so far back in there, that hair gets redder, and I ain't gonna go no further than that.
It's kind of a hard place to find, because if you come from the top, you don't even see it. And if you come up from the bottom, it gets kind of steep there, coming up that off to the side there. And I don't know if you remember, but the rock wall there, it's all full of little garnets in it.
Oh yeah, it's full of garnets all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, and then in the floor of that cat down there where they fell off, you know, there's a lot. You'd see a lot of them. Yeah. But if you remember, there's a great big rock looks like put in there for a table or something.
Yep, exactly.
In the thing.
Yep. I've got some pictures of that.
Now Dwayne, they bought some land on the other side of it, on the Hard Creek side of it. He's got that ruby mine.
Yeah, the old Hog Creek mine.
And my land from my side nearly touches what he's got over there. And Blake will ride a four-wheeler or a motorcycle a lot of times to work over where he at the boat marina.
Oh, okay.
Come through the woods.
So y'all had all that land down in there then.
Yeah.
Now the old Hog Creek, the old ruby mine was kind of up the hill in the woods there.
Yeah.
But if you read the old reports, it talks about down by the creek. It talks about an old mine shaft down there. Do you ever remember?
I hadn't seen anything. I'll find out about it because the lady that owned all that land. Actually, I went to school with her. I know at Hog Creek when I was a kid, and I think she lived in California. But she said she wanted to talk to me, and she could tell me all about it. And I'm gonna call her.
I have to find out where that was, because I've heard about it, but never knew. Yeah. Never knew where it was. But I wondered if it was still there.
I've got her phone number and everything. I'm gonna call her, and she can tell me everything.
What was her name?
Burge. I can't remember
It was a birch.
first.
Same as the Birch.
Bruce
Cemetery?
Birch and them that live on that road there. That's her daddy. That would have been her dad.
Oh,
This
okay.
lady's daddy, and she married and went to California, but she did own all that up, where that nursery and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
She's a good lady.
When you was a kid, did they ever talk about that Indian stuff? Did you ever hear any stories
About the Ruby Mine.
or the Indians or the mines? Did you ever
Oh
hear
yeah,
little
well
stories about
we
it?
just took it for granted, from my hand down and everything. That Indians lived in there where now. Hey, you been there?
Yeah.
It's a great big rock that comes way out.
All overhang.
A great big
I've seen
overhang.
pictures of it.
And that thing, it's dry as gunpowder at the bottom of that. And then there's a creek that runs right down there where they get water right below it. And then right above it, there's a rock. It looks just like Stone Mountain. Ain't no different.
Did y'all used to find arrowheads and stuff when you was kids?
Oh yeah, well, you find the airhead. But I've been all over that old big round rock up there.
I'll bet there's not a handful of people nowadays that even know that place is there.
No.
I mean,
Do you walk up on the big rock there? It looks like Stone
I've
Mountain.
been up on top there.
Yeah.
Yep, I know where you're talking about. Well, I was surprised how much rock was up there.
And they ain't gonna believe this, but when I worked in Atlanta, I had a 49 Ford. And this old boy from Clayton called me over, and he said, let's go out to see Stone Mountain. I said, okay. So we went out there, and he said, we got to walk. I said, we ain't walking up there. And I took that old 49 Ford, and I drove it right to the top of Stone Mountain. Ain't nobody got me in there. Of course, I couldn't know it. I'd come off there pretty fast here. But I
heard
drove.
there was an old road there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all, it's all road. I mean, it's just a rock.
Yeah.
So, but I flat went up there.
Couldn't do that nowadays.
So tell us what you know about the Drake family, your mama's family.
Okay.
You know anything about how they got here?
Okay. Arthur Drake was my grandpa. And they live. Do you know where Donnie J. William Denton and them live?
No, sir.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be an old house there. I can't think of them. We went to school with them boys. They lived in that house. Gosh, I can't think of what they're.
Down behind George Mountain Restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That road there.
Okay.
What's that? There's one of the boys named Bruce, and we run around with them and everything. And their daddy's named Guy. I can't remember his last name. Ledford?
Ledford. Guy
Yeah.
Ledford.
Right there, my grandpa owned all that land. There's a lot of bottom land there. I mean, went all the way around below where the new bridge and all that is. But that's where he lived, and he raised a pretty big family there. There's a pretty big bunch of them. So when the lake come in, that put him out. So he went to Franklin, and he lived over there till he died and all of the kids. And Clyde Drake was his, not the youngest, but one of the youngest. He had polio, back then there's polio come through here and it got a lot of folks. And Clyde couldn't walk. And so he got to be a certified public accountant. And I think he sold part of the business last year or year before last. But he is the second largest software tax person in the United States. And he walked on crutches.
Tell them how Clyde used to get to school.
Yeah. Oh, Clyde he built him a little old wooden wagon, and bought him a goat. And that goat, buddy, to take him straight to school. He didn't have no foolishness. But Clyde, after he got over at Franklin, they fixed his car with these levers on it, vacuum. I know one I rode with it, I worried the most about. He done all the taxes for them Indians up there, Cherokee, and he couldn't walk a bit. His hands all he had. And had all that vacuum stuff, and gosh, he'd hot rod pretty good. And I said, Clyde, you ever think about one of them hoses busting, what's going to happen to me and you? But that's all the way he could drive it. And Phil Drake got his son over there, and all the kids, they kept the business, and till I think, or Phil wound up done all of it. But he's a good boy. He's real good. Well, all of them are.
Well, did they lose all their property on the lake, or just part of it?
They everything but that house. It was a little old. Just it wasn't painted or anything. It's just the house, and they kept part of that. And I don't know who. Grandpa sold it to somebody. I don't know who he sold it when he left here.
Did you ever hear anybody talk about what kind of money they gave them for their property?
No, nothing.
They give nothing.
Nah.
So the old road down there that before they filled the lake up with water, the old road that crossed the river down there, I mean the old bridge.
Yeah.
Was that the bridge that they blew up somewhere before they started filling, or was there a second bridge?
Oh, there's that, and there's several, and you probably remember that. There's up on the river, and up in there, what they done, they practiced some of them airplanes there for a while.
Oh yeah.
Blowing them little bridges out, and that a long time ago, but. The old road that comes down by the hardware and right down through there. And it goes there and then comes over to the fairground over there. Goes over there, Cedar Cliff, straight on through there to the foot of the mountain.
Yeah, that's the bridge that I was talking about, the old bridge that used to be there.
Well, see, that's the reason Hog Creek come down there with Steve Holmes where it did. They didn't want to have to build another bridge across the Hiawassee River. So it could come in down there, and then they went up by the fairground. And back then, just like I say, they didn't have them hot rod cars. They had them mules, sleds.
So how many back during that time, was there very many cars in town? Or
Oh, they had some cars, yeah. People had A models. And Professor Adams, he lived in Young Harris over there, and he was a preacher, and he preached over at that Methodist church. And he had an old 31 Dodge, and that thing was chain drive. Big old chains pulled it. And we lived, and he'd come through Sunday morning, you'd hear that old thing from the and chains coming up. But Sparks, right there where Ingalls is, he had a Ford place there. Before that, he had it up there in a town next to where the bank was. And then I can't remember what it was. Built the Dodge place called, sir. Who was it built the Dodge place?
Was it the Chastain boys?
Well, Chastain bought it off of him.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's a Dodge place there, and they was right smart of cars around.
So there was a Dodge dealership and a Ford dealership.
Yeah, the Dodge is straight across the street. The Ford was right where, well, it started out up on the square there. The old building's still there, where it was.
Yeah.
It's right between them.
Where the vacant lot is now.
Yeah.
Where Red McKinney's old store is.
Yeah, Red McKinney's store.
That's where the old Ford place was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Sparks, he had lived down there right where Ingalls, and he built a pretty nice big Ford place right there.
Maybe across the road.
Yeah.
What year you think when you built that?
Gosh, it had to have been 50s, 49. along through there.
They were in business a long time.
Yeah.
So this might be before your time, but what was that before they put the lake in down below town? There was that big old mill right on the river, the great big huge wooden mill.
Oh yeah.
Pictures of it. What's the name of that? Begins with a K.
I thought it was Wiley Moody, but I'm not sure. He had a mill down there. They called it a roller mill.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I've been to there a bunch of
So
times.
that was there when.
Yeah.
I wondered how long that was there.
And that old bridge is down there that they had, it was floored with boards. It wasn't concrete. You cross that little 8 mile, just up.
The old steel bridge.
Huh?
You remember the steel bridge that was across the river?
Oh yeah.
Now, where was it exactly at, Morris?
Now the steel bridge was up there more on the river, coming up that back.
Yeah, but it was down here in town at first.
Yeah.
Behind the courthouse, wasn't it?
Yeah. I guess that's the one that.
Then they moved it.
Yeah. That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it when it was on the river, but of course I don't remember it when it was behind the courthouse.
So that's the one I remember. Jerry, when he gave his presentation a couple of months ago, he mentioned that. That was the one that they said that
I can't remember just exactly when that deal was.
Yeah.
But
so I guess the road that goes down by the courthouse
just kept
goes down and then across the river down there.
Now that's probably where it was.
Probably. That's what I'm thinking.
That's where it was. Because when you go down to the courthouse, they got you into the Hog Creek was over this way, and that got you. And everybody that lived over there on around that road, say they didn't have that road going down there like 288 like we got now.
So where did that road go when it crossed the river?
Where'd it come out?
Yeah,
it come out over there at Press Nichols.
Yeah. Or Poplar, is it Poplar Drive?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Where it come out.
It come out right there, and then of course they had roads that come on around through from that hooked up, and then Owl Creek and all that. See, that is all dirt, and that main road here was dirt for years.
When did they first paved the roads? What was
gosh, it had been, I'd say in the 49, 50s or something like that. I know that there's no fella person ever got killed on that road is dirt. And he, out from our house, he run out of the road with a beer truck and went off and just nosed off in that creek. And you still see a chunk where it hit the cover and killed poor fella.
So we talked before, I remember about the road crews when they were, I guess it was when they were first paving the road up over the mountain going to Clayton, and back then they had to stay over.
Well, what I told you that, I guess, is down here at the courthouse, that little old yellow road machine.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
My daddy drove a tractor, a little old crawler tractor. He called it a Poppin' John. And Orr McKinney run the machine back on that. And they had to go from the Rayburn County line all the way through Scrape Road all the way to Gilmer County. And wherever they got there, you just had to spend the night. And of course, it wasn't no trouble. Them people would let you stay and feed you good.
So was that piece of equipment horse-drawn, or was there something with a motor?
No, do you know where Stephen Phillips, my boy, lives?
Yeah.
There's a little old tractor he found in the yard there at the house. He's got in front of the house.
Oh, yeah?
It's a little old Oliver OC3. And that's what they pulled. They pulled it. That's a wide gauge, but it's a narrow gauge. But that's what they pulled it.
Huh.
Now, I don't know this. to be a fact, but I just know from history they started to build a road to all mountain from Young Harris. You remember that?
Yeah,
C.D. Corn was ordinary.
across Crow Gap, they call it.
That's it.
I've been up there. I didn't realize
And
that was a.
CD is the one that wound up with that little old thing, and then there's a bigger one that they had, after this. And I'll bet you $1 they was using them building that road up there, and then they quit. And I bet you that's where CD found them.
Daddy worked for the county back then.
Did he know anything about it?
He talked about it. He talked about how they was going to build a road across what he called Crow Gap, what everybody calls Crow Gap,
Yeah.
but never did.
Because the Young Harris side of Crow Gap is still private land, but on our side it's forest land there. So.
But that's a rock pile turned sideways.
Well,
Huh?
I won't say what Daddy said.
I got a good idea. Same thing my daddy said. But I bet you that's where most pieces, because I was the one, me and Daddy, that actually got that thing from CD.
Right.
And I figured a lot of people could see it if you had it up here.
That's awesome.
And I told Bradshaw and Kendall and everyone, if they ever do anything with it, I know where it'll go.
Where to go?
Daddy rode that thing a many times, but when he fox hunted all the time, and when he'd get around here where he'd get his fox dog to go hunting, he said, "Son," he said, "that's a monotonous thing." He said, "You sit there and pull that thing, and that little old tractor just put. He said, "You couldn't stay awake, save your nickel."
Put you right to sleep, huh?
Yeah.
Talk about fox hunting. Tell us about fox hunting. Did you ever do any?
Oh, I used to go with him some, but I found out I could sleep better at the house. Them dang nasty stuff, mosquitoes eat you up. But they go fox hunting, and Al Truman Barrett, I remember him, Blake Bryson, a bunch of them, and they'd get their dogs and they'd argue about who's in front. I'd hear them jokers running. I couldn't tell you which. I just know they was all together.
How many dogs did they have?
Oh, they'd have 8 or 10.
They go at night?
They'd go stay all night and tell tales. But now, them mosquitoes stuff they eat up, they'd build them a fire, but they'd swear they could tell old so-and-so's in front. Duckworth, Frank Duckworth, he went with them. But that was a sport that's about gone. I don't reckon nobody much at fox out here. But they just, all they want to do is see which one's dog could catch the fox. Now, I'd seen them catch that fox. They caught him.
They turn him loose or they kill him?
No, them dogs kill him just a minute. They'll stretch him here in the corner over there.
Just shred him.
But a red fox now, they're harder to catch. They're bigger. They can turn it on. But Daddy had fox dogs. He lived to be 97, and he had fox dogs all the way up to them. He'd turn them loose there at the house. Oh, that's old so-and-so. Bark.
About the closest you used to see to that anymore was bird dogs, but now with all the grouse gone, you don't see anybody take bird dogs out anymore.
Oh, the coon hunters now.
Yeah, I'll tell you. These armadillos, have you seen them?
Just started
Run
seeing
over
them.
the side of the road.
I just started seeing them first.
I don't know how they got here.
Them coyotes, I tell you.
I saw one the other day, I said, that's the wrinkliest looking coon I ever saw somebody run on.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. They were up here.
But I'll tell you, back years ago when everybody had to help everybody, and they would. You didn't have to twist their arm. They'd all help. If you had a problem, they were right there with you.
Everybody knew their neighbors back then.
That's exactly right.
Nowadays, people don't even know who lives next door to them.
And everybody's just like one had a roller mill over here for wheat. And then Water Moody had that dam over at Hog Creek, grind their corn. And everybody learned a skill, and when you had something tore up, he'd fix it. Wash motor. And the old Doc Waldrop, he was a dentist. And boy, Lord, Mama take me to him, and he'd pull your tooth, never did nothing. It wouldn't bother him a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Did he have a practice in town?
Doc Waldrop,
Dr. Walter?
yeah, he had a little, on the square there, that little rock building out there on the corner. That's where he had his office. And then he put it in the top of.
Was he there a long time?
Uh,
Was he there most of your life?
oh yeah, till he died. He is pretty old. Sparks built a little old building over there, and he is upstairs in it. But he'd fill your tooth, and you just sat there and he'd grind. That's it. He wasn't no dead. It wasn't nothing to it. One old guy come in there and got his tooth, told him, said, Doc, I got a tooth, you're just killing me. The old doc didn't do nothing. He just reached there and jerked it out. About 10 minutes, he come back and he said, Doc, you got the wrong tooth. You got to pull that up. He didn't pull it.
Oh, man. Wasn't no putting that back.
No.
What about doctor? Was there a doctor in town you used to go to?
Yeah. They had a Dr. Wilburn over at Young Harris's old man. And I forget who our doctors were. I know them that we had years.
Over here in town?
Yeah, I was. I don't know if they ever took me to them. Most of the time they doctors you used to have.
Home remedies.
You
right?
better believe it, and they work.
Well, I guess she was born right in the middle of the Depression, so
Yeah.
a lot of folding money.
Oh, if the people right here helped each other, and that way, if a lake hadn't come in there, they'd have fared good. But they'd never even known they wasn't depressed. We raised everything we eat.
You're not the first I've heard say that. The older generation
Oh yeah,
said that they didn't even know the Depression was going on.
that's exactly right. Because we raised everything, and if we didn't, there's a neighbor that had whatever you need there. And I know George McConnell over here, he had a mill, grind corn. And he had an old strip down 35 Ford sitting down there. And you wouldn't believe it, it didn't even have a radiator on it. He took them radiator hose, had a 55-gallon barrel there, and he just branched. He had a hose run, kept that barrel full of water. And them two hoses just sitting in there, and that's how it kept that thing.
Wow.
That old thing sat there and run, grind. They jacked the wheel up against the mandrel on it to
Had big
turn.
belt on it.
Turn. They jacked that tire up, and that's what turned.
Huh.
But they didn't. Old George over there was kidding about something about it. But then they have to put antifreeze. We didn't even know what antifreeze was much back then. He said, Lord, no. He said, I just put spring water in it. He said, you ain't never seen a spring froze. If a lot of people believe that.
Was it like a burr mill, or was it stone? Did he turn some?
It had it had the stones in there. And instead of having a motor like they've got on them, he just run it with that old strip down that back wheel on it. That's what turned that thing.
People were ingenious back then.
Yeah.
They made stuff work.
But back then, the square up here, the business around there, Carl Honefield, you had a Hooper drugstore on the corner, and that white house out there on the square, that was a Hooper house.
Dr. Hooper lived.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us what you did for a living after you moved back up, after you came back up here, back to Hiawassee.
Well, when I in Marietta, after my kids was born, we'd come up here to see Mother and Daddy uh, pretty often. I'd bring them up here, you know, and so I didn't want to keep going out on them. So we got down there, and me and my wife and kids and everybody built an A-frame cabin, and that's where we stayed when we come up here. Well, when I left Lockheed, we come up here and we stayed in Marietta a while until I got that house sold. And we stayed in that little A-frame. And I built my house about by myself. And stuff, everything started something that I couldn't live. And it took me a good long while. We lived, and the kids and all that A-frame, that's pretty tight living.
Is the old A-frame still there?
Yeah, there's a boy lives in it. And it wasn't too good a thing to put your wife through, because there you had your washing machine and all that stuff. I had a little deck out there. But I told her, I said, Lord, this is sort of bad. But I said, we get through here. I had to have paid to have the brick put on it. I couldn't lay all them brick. I laid all the block. It's got a full basement under. And their kids, it was funny when they was at school, they was teenagers, an old Joanne Caldwell's boy, and they'd come out there and they'd had a ball help me lay blocks on that basement. So then the trusses and everything, I had to have help on it. But other than that, and the house is 36 feet wide, 80 feet long. I got a carport 32 foot square, and I've never owed a penny on the house.
What year was that when you built that?
Well, when I left Lockheed down there, I can't keep up with them the dates much.
Was it in the 80s?
I'd say it's pretty. It'd be in the 60s. Yeah, it'd be in the 70s.
Now, you talking about the drugstore. What? I know everybody couldn't afford to go buy drugs, so did somebody in the family, you said earlier about the remedies, home remedies, did somebody in the family, were they good at that, or was there a neighbor that?
Oh yeah, everybody in that lived in the county knew home remedies, and they'd work.
So everybody kind of knew what to do.
Yeah.
So that was before the drugs came around.
Oh yeah, my would been my great grandmother on the Hunt side. She was about a full-blooded Indian. That would have been Charles Jenkins' grandmother. And now Charles' daddy, he's got Charlie, he's a lot of Indian in him. But she come and stayed with us a lot. And she knew all kind of remedies, stuff to give you.
So the Indians knew a lot about that.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of Indians in this area still back then?
No, there wasn't. We didn't. Now my grandpa he lived on the head of Bell Creek over there, and his daddy's name was Pat Phillips. They had that old log house, where it's the one at the fair right now.
Yeah.
That's my grandpa's old house. My daddy was born in that house.
Okay.
And they could see them Indians peeping out of the trees at them, when they was up there farming.
That's your grandparents?
Yeah.
Were they some of the first ones to come after the land lottery?
Pat I never did know him. He'd been my grandpa's daddy.
Oh, great grandpa.
Yeah, it'd be great. I never did know him or can't remember.
And those were the ones that used to see the Indians creeping around. Wow.
But everybody had their own remedy, what they had to do.
And they worked, didn't they?
Yeah, you can get the E cups. You can take you just a dab of it, just a little bit of salt. Stick your tongue to it, and I guarantee it'll stop it just like that. I don't know what that'll do to it.
People forgot a lot of that good stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
You told us the last time about how you built all the cabinets at the school.
Yeah.
Can you tell us again about how that
Yeah.
came about?
That Bill Kendall, he was a commissioner at the time. I tried to help him what I could on any part of it, and I'd done building and all. And he said, "I'm gonna tell you what." He said, "You're gonna build a cabinet at school." And I said, "I'm gonna do what?" I had a cabinet shop in my basement. You ever been in there in the basement? Never got around. I had that cabinet shop in the basement, and so stupid me, I told him. I said, "Well, I'll do it." I got an old Cecil Dye. He is a fireman. He is wanting to get out of Atlanta. And he's a good cabinet man. And I called him up and I said, "Cecil, if you want to get out of Atlanta, I can help you out." I said, "You come up here and help me build these cabinets." And we got school kids they'd come down there and help us, you know. But now they're Formica. They're not just wooden cabinets. And I had a designer that went to Bill, and they put them all three different colors of room to where it wouldn't be so drab. And then I painted every one of the desks, covered every one of the desk tops and every room matched. There's one that's orange, there's one that's sort of mustard color, and a green. The seats, all the stuff on the wall, it's still up there, I guess, like one. And I had a big old box truck. And when school opened the first time that year, down there at Hootenbau's place down there, we had that truck backed in there unloading desks at daylight when the buses.
Oh, 1978.
Okay, that's when it was.
So how long did it take to build all that?
It wasn't too long. We had that thing. I had a window there at the end of the basement, and we had the table saw sitting right there, and table.
Shooting all the sawdust out.
And I heard a whole lot about that.
Lois.
Yeah, Lois drowned me. But that plywood was window big enough, we just slide her through there, you know. And then when that saw I had commercial good saws, and then we'd have to put them together. And then Bill, he'd send some of them boys. I know them hawking boys that haul dirt. There's two of them, and I don't know, and all else. And I taught them how to spray paint with a spray gun. And man, we was out there, they had them desks all plumb to the lake below my house, painting them things. But it was fun. And I'll tell you something else, that cannon up there, being Ray Knight built that, I didn't have no welder or nothing on that park after school.
Yeah.
David Shook took the contract to build that thing. And I built houses and stuff, and David wanted me to help him do it. I said, "Yeah, I'll help you, David." So then we got talking about that cannon, and that's one of them gas bottles, you know, the big old thing is what the barrel is.
So y'all made that homemade?
Made that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. But here's the thing about it. We shot that joker the day they opened it.
Wow.
And up there on the steps at school, all them women sitting up there, and that thing went off, and they screamed. And Rudy Roach is the sheriff, and Lois Anderson, just as we got the thing lit, she walked straight in front of that thing, and old Rudy grabbed her and jerked her out of the way. And we shot a 4-inch styrofoam ball, and I recognized Rudy said he's going to keep it It's the sheriff's office over there still got it or not. But boy, it made a racket. But what we done, Frank Stalker, he knew everything about that dynamite and stuff, powder. So we got him down. I took a brake line and drilled a hole down in that barrel of that thing and run a brake line down there right where we wanted the powder to be. And so when you poured the powder in there, you'd have it right where you wanted it, where the fuse would be.
And what'd you make the tube out of?
Well, them big old acetylene tanks. And then we lined it with about a 4-inch pipe.
Put it like a sleeve.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it jumped about that high off the ground down there. But now it looked like an old timey Kenner. Yeah. But old Ray Knight, he could weld, or he was a good welder. The end of that barrel, we took a solid piece of metal like that, and bolted around that, and make that little hump on there.
Wow.
I guess I never looked at it close enough.
Yeah,
I always thought it was a real.
I did too.
A real
Yeah, it's not.
Wow. That's something else. I'll have to look a little closer at that.
Yeah.
Check out your handiwork.
Do what?
I have to check it out a little better, see your handiwork.
Well, you go up there and check her out. But I don't know. Nobody knows how to handle powder, like it. You need to do it. But you go up there right now and put that powder back in there and run that whisk right down that brake line and light that joker, and you could hear her. But we building Don Fox's shop down there, and it's on Sunday evening, and me and old Ray decided we'd try that thing out. We got Frank Stocker above them, and we took that barrel, and he had metal saws, and we chained it down to that thing, and we lit that thing in that building. Don Fox, here he come, he told his wife, said, with a bunch of customers, said, they shot that thing out there. He said he laughed and blowed him over the head.
Bet y'all had some fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
So I remember when we were talking last time, you mentioned that you're still involved with some aviation, some stuff with your son, I think.
My whole litter of kids, I think, went in there airplane then.
Well, I didn't realize at the time, but Debbie, who used to be the library manager,
Yeah.
She's your daughter-in-law. Then
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now, David is the one that flies for Drake. Yeah. He flies, and he just barely got a brand new plane. It's a big old thing. I think it'll haul 17, 18 people.
Wow.
Got one, it's a jet, just one prop on it. He had to go somewhere to get, wherever they build this Cessna.
So the other one, he's the only one that flies then, or
No, his boy Eli, he had his pilot license before he got his driver's license.
Huh.
That little bugger, he can land that great big plane. He can fly every one of them.
Oh yeah.
And Evan, he's went to school. He wants to fly for Delta or somebody.
Okay.
And right now he trains people to fly. Evan does. And Stephen, he bought a little airplane of some kind. And he flies.
Where does he keep his plane?
I think he keeps it over Blair.
Oh, okay.
Or Andrew's one of them. I don't remember which.
So they all fly. So they.
Yeah. I told him I helped build them, but
We don't want
them air brakes ain't no good on them things.
No. Good deal.
Well, what do you miss about Towns County?
What I miss about it,
Yeah, the old times.
that right there is what I miss about it, the old time.
The old times.
That's right. The thing is, fellas, I'll just tell you like it is. If you like something, and you come in here and you like something, help make it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, well, where I was from is this, from that. If it is, why didn't you stay?
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. Don't come up here and try to mess up our stuff.
That's right.
And old Homer Hunter, I guess, the best mayor we ever had. You remember old Homer? He'd tell you like it is. And this ain't got nothing to do with the county, but he had a pet monkey down there. And he had a meat market in that. But something, that old monkey got bad one time and bit the hell out of old Homer. Homer just reached and got him like that. They caught him a mouthful of his back, bit him as hard as he could. He said, I'll show you how that feels. Now that happened.
I've seen pictures of Homer and his monkey.
Yes, sir. But it's just like with him, we had a dry spell here, and I mean, these mountains dried up, the trees and all about. And that'd have been in about 52. And we had the hospital over there, and he had bought a GMC fire truck. And that thing, they put it in the lake over yonder below the hospital and got some army people in here can purify the water. The spring went dry over there for the hospital, everything here. And he took that old fire truck and pumped that water, and they'd pump it back in the reservoir and kept water and power wash it.
Wow. It was a bad drought, wasn't it?
Well, he didn't have a pump. He didn't do like a lot to run the. There wasn't nowhere to run to get a pump much. And he just said that fire truck is an old bullfire. GMC, you remember?
I remember that thing because
Yeah.
when Broken Up was mayor, they had that thing parked in the hardware.
Yeah,
Back up in there.
yeah, that they did. But he kept water for the hospital and all that stuff. And that nursing home up there on top of the hill, I was on the board when we put that up. And a lot of people say, well, that's a pretty place for a motel or a hotel. Put it up on that hill. Well, them old people there is, in my opinion, is the one that made this county. And if they can get something that make life easier on them for their end, and we put a wire place out there where they get outside, and that's a pretty view as they are anywhere in the world. Yeah. And there's some criticisms of that, but they don't make no difference. If it's right, just hang with it.
Yeah.
True.
And I'll hang with it.
You talk about the drought. Tell us about some of the worst snowstorms or stuff like that happened you growing up.
Well, Lord, it was in 93 or.
Well, I know that one.
Yeah,
I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of, it'd come pretty good snows, they didn't have no way to get rid of nothing. You just had to go through it.
Yeah, when you was growing up.
Yeah.
So did it
But
snow
the lake wasn't near then, but we had, I remember a lot of snow. We'd have a lot. And back then we used to stay at the house because if you had no late model, T-model, you wasn't going nowhere. In that thing.
I heard, I think it was in 62 or 63, there was a bad ice storm. Can you remember that?
Yes, sir, I remember. I remember that lake being froze over solid.
Okay.
And then it snowed on top of the ice. But that lake it was solid.
I heard that was probably one of the worst storms other than the blizzard.
It was, yeah. But it come in here and you'd have to be careful about the kids, keeping them off that ice because it wouldn't be thick enough. But at the bridge, anywhere you saw the lake, it was frozen. And then it snowed on top of that.
That's pretty.
And there's a lot of people stayed at home.
Stayed at home trying to stay warm, probably.
Gosh, yeah.
I know a lot of farmers. I some of the older ones, I've heard talk about it
Yeah.
and talk about how much livestock they lost
Oh, yeah.
during that.
Yeah.
Chicken farmers, cattle.
Well, see, they couldn't graze or nothing, get nothing to eat, and they didn't have enough hay and stuff like that, you know, to do it. And it did a lot of them. Actually, that old, you just see them laying there, you know.
Back then, they didn't have these big round rolls that you could roll up hay in.
No.
All you had was a few square rolls or
Well, we finally got that, but to start with, they'd take a wagon and a pitchfork. You had a big frame out on your wagon, and you'd pile it on, and then they'd take it and you'd put a pole in the ground. And you'd stack that up. I know my job was walking around that pole, packing it where it'd stay in there. So when you want some hay, you just go out there and get your hay and feed your cow. Most of the time they'd take rails and put around it, make a fence where they couldn't get to it, and you just go throw it out, and then they'd come out there and eat it.
I guess that outside kept the moisture off of it.
And your corn, to make your cornbread with, you had the grinder, you stood there and put her in it.
Yeah, I've seen them old grinders.
Yes, sir, I've turned that in a bunch of times.
Was there anything that you never did that you kind of wished you had done?
There's a lot of things that fits that.
Anything that comes to mind? Or maybe wish you hadn't done?
There's stuff I wished I hadn't done. A lot of it I'd rather not tell everybody.
At least not while the camera's running.
I don't guess ain't nobody in this county ever drove any wilder than I did back a long time ago. But,
Your son took after you.
huh?
Your son took after you.
Yeah. He took after me on the radio too. But you know, I turned one car over, and it wasn't no bad deal. That sharp curve on Upper Bell over there, I turned it over right at there, and I got Howard Cunningham put it on for me, and he parked it down there in front of the curing house. When I say curing house, that big old green building in front of where I live, we built that to cure hams. With Daddy cured hams in there. And
so I think I know which curve you're talking about, because I drive on Upper Bell every day. I live way out there.
yeah,
And I think I know which one you're talking about.
it's that sharp of it. But I had Harold, I didn't want to wake Mom and Daddy up. I told them to leave it down in front of that thing. Mama looked down there at that thing. She said, "Lord of mercy, son." She said, "The Lord was with you, and that or he'd killed you." And I said, "But if he was, he took a rough ride."
Tell us about church back then when you was a kid, how you grew up, where you went to church and all that.
Do what now?
Last time you talked to us about church, tell us about when you was a kid going to church.
Yeah, I went to Friendship Church there. It's a little rock church where my grandpa lived up there. I keep talking about the Y. We'd walk to church, and that's where I went to church.
Ever since you was a little boy?
Yeah.
Was that the same place that Friendship Church is now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that place would be covered up with buggies and wagons. That's the only way they had to come to church. And I tell people this. I call my grandpa Papa. Well, coming from Hayesville, people coming from Hayesville would come right to my grandpa's house. Well, Papa started to go to church, and George W. Truett come down riding of his horse, going to Iowa. Told Papa he was going up there and listen at him preach. And my grandpa told him, said, "Well, George, I've heard you've been called to preach." And he said, "Yeah, he had." And he said, "Well, we ain't got no preacher this Sunday. How about coming preaching for us?" And George told him, said, yeah, so that'd be fine. And that's the first church, Friendship Church, that he ever preached a sermon in.
Wow.
And he went a long way,
He
but
sure is.
now we got old Stanley Woods a preaching now up there. He's good.
He got Stan preaching.
Yes, sir. You ought to come here.
All right.
He's good, but we kept trying to get him down there, and he had failed around, and Stephen stayed after him, you know, and so they ordained him and everything now. He's tickled to death because now that church is full.
He's a good boy.
Yes, sir. He knows his Bible. Y'all ought to come by and hear him down there. And if a church won't hold them, we got that fellowship hall back there. It'll hold a bunch.
Right.
So we just move up back there.
There you go.
And that's something else. You talking about church? We built this fellowship hall, and it's pretty. And there's a oak tree about that high, big around, right above it. And it come a storm. It blowed that oak tree. It missed the chimney about that far, and it cut that building half in two and hung off of the bank on the lower side. And Megan was having a birthday party down there at that pavilion I got on the lake. There's 1,000 wonders we hadn't have been over there. In fact, it had killed no telling how many. But old Larry Hedden, he's a good boy. He helped me build it to start with, and he come back over, and you can't tell it's ever been touched.
What year was that? Just a few years ago?
Yeah, I don't know it. I guess 10 years.
It hadn't been that long ago.
Probably not.
I remember that.
Lockheed's the biggest thing, me and you and Dates. There's so many people, so many numbers. You don't try to remember a number.
I know.
Your head won't hold that much.
But that's like it was so big. It's probably the same way when you were there. You see all these people that you knew, but you didn't know their names.
I don't right now today. You tell me your name, I won't remember until you get to know it. But your face, I won't forget.
Yeah, that's the same way I am. Terrible at names.
When you work with 32,000 people,
Yep. You don't remember all of them.
your brain's pretty good when you take a picture of their face enough to remember.
Yeah.
Morris in the late 40s and barely the real early 50s. Daddy told me there's more horses and buggies in town than there was cars.
Oh yeah, there's. Now Stephen, he's got to trying to gather up some cars. He's got one that Pete Underwood had, that 49 Ford he had down there, and he's got Johnny Akery working for him. Now Johnny can paint one, and he's done all that. Getting cars that people knew that they had around, like my daddy's car. They fixed it, painted it, fixed it like it was brand new, you know.
What kind of car was it?
54 Dodge Dart.
So it's your daddy's real car. Somebody restored it.
Yeah. Well, he kept it down there. I built on the house. I built a carport, and he had it. And my mother's got it is probably an 80-something model automobile, and he's going to fix it. He got that old 49 Ford that Pete Underwood had down there and painted it. It looks like a brand new.
It's nice and folks deserve.
Well, I like old cars, and the thing about it, the people, them old timers that had them things, they was good to the bone now, buddy. And that's why I hate to see anybody even think about changing Towns County. Just
It's a wonderful place.
that's it.
Well, that's part of the problem is it's such a great place that everybody wants to be here and get more and more people all the time.
But you know, the funny thing is, one will build a house out here. He'll water all over whoever it is while he's building. And then he gets fixed, and the man next door comes in and wants to build. Don't you touch this.
Yeah.
Don't you touch it. I got enough land down there to keep them over me.
That's the only way to go, right there.
I felt good last night, all Mother's Day and everything. All my kids and grandkids, every one of them like airplane. They've all got them a boat, and some of them took after me. I like him old Chris Craft and
Oh,
Crack Craft. And Dylan's got a Crack Craft. Evan's got one. Them things sound mean going down the lake. And old Eli, he's putting his in the lake when I left today.
I used to like the old wooden boats.
yeah, that's what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I used to have a Chris Craft from somebody fiberglassed that thing and painted it black and looked like they were fixing out donuts or something. That's the roughest looking thing I ever saw in my life.
Covered that beautiful mahogany up.
Oh yeah, they covered it with fiberglass.
Wow.
Marsh, you got anything else you want to add?
Not that I know of. There's a lot of
Talked
good.
some good stuff tonight.
Well, I hope so.
I like that cannon story.
Yeah,
I did
I
too.
never knew that.
You think anything happened in the county that was made news in the whole state? Anything big news?
Something now. Tell me again.
You remember something happened in the county that was made big news in the whole state? Anything big happened up here?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that ever happened is electing Zell Miller, the governor. Right there would be the best.
Yeah.
And where did he live at?
You go into Young Harris, it's that rock house, real pretty rock house on the right.
His
Yeah.
wife still lives there.
Yeah.
It's just like Friendship Church. And my grandpa that laid the rock on Friendship Church, Miss Miller got every one of them rocks and brought them in there herself
Yeah, that's what I heard.
with I guess a sled and a horse. And my grandpa laid the rock on that house.
Which grandpa was this?
Drake,
What was his first name?
Arthur.
Arthur Drake.
And I bet you, I doubt if he charged her much of anything to do it.
Wow.
But my real mother on Friendship Church, as you go on the entrance, she is over there. When my grandpa laid the rock on it, he laid them in 32, I think it was. She found a little heart and she put it right on the left side of the door and she put it in there herself.
Oh, wow.
It's a perfect little heart.
Still there?
Still there, and all the preachers said it's a church with a heart.
Wow. That's neat. Something you remember your mama by.
Yeah,
That's a great story.
but it's pathetic to remember how it used to be. Of course, we had a rough road to hoe,
Oh, yeah.
different than what you got. You don't go to England and grab you something, but they raise everything that they eat.
You have any moonshiners in the family? You have any moonshiners in the family?
No,
No.
my grandpa and my daddy, they wouldn't have been over there there left here if they'd have caught me a mess with that stuff.
They was teetotalers.
Yeah. And my mother, she was the first visiting teacher I told y'all the other day. And after she died, there's no telling how many people come to me and told me if it hadn't been for her, they couldn't have went to school. She'd buy them clothes. I think I told you about Frank Duckworth and E.L. Brown. But that's the way we all lived a long time ago. If you had a problem, there's sickness in your family, it'd be everybody doing it. They called it chores. They'd be over and do whatever had to be done.
Anything they could do to help out.
Yes, sir. You didn't have to.
Somebody died in the family. Everybody piled in and done the work.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Fed you.
You didn't miss anything. And
Those
that,
days are gone.
and then they finally come in with telephones. You had to ring them up. And they had somebody on my grandpa's telephone line over there, and she'd eavesdrop on them all the time. And, and she was so brave. If you said something she didn't lay it right, she'd correct you. Yeah, she sure would.
Who was this?
Sat up there and listened. No, that ain't the way it is. That's
Oh,
funny.
your mom? Oh,
That's funny.
isn't that something? What you remember about E.L. Brown?
About what?
What about E.L. Brown? You were starting to talk about him on the
C.L. Brown.
C.L. Brown.
Yeah.
E.L.
E.L. My mother would go over there, and Frank Duckworth and I watch her, and she'd tell them that if there was kids that come in there that didn't have clothes, to clothe them and give her keep the bill for her, and she'd pay the bill, and and so she'd tell them kids, go to E.L. Brown or go to Duckworth, and their folks would go up there and tell them, and then mother would pay the bill. And the reason I know that, Mama wouldn't have told me that, but after she died, there was a lot that told me.
Now, where was Duckworth at?
Right on the corner of the square.
Okay. And E.L. Brown was in Young Harris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Duckworth's about where Anderson is there.
Or Anderson.
Huh?
Anderson is.
Yeah. That's close.
Financial services now.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
Duck, or E.L. Brown's is, you go into Young Harris, right across from the
about. Old motel.
old motel.
Was
Yeah.
E.L. Brown?
Yeah, that's where he is at.
Grandpa's first cousin.
He is a good fella, but my mother, she finally bought, we went and got an Army Jeep. She'd have to go to Tate City and everything.
I remember that Jeep.
Yeah, and she'd drive that blame thing. You couldn't get up the roads or nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But if kids, she called it visiting teacher. If a kid was sick, she'd go teach them.
Wow.
And you don't see nothing like that here anymore unless they want the money.
Yeah. So she drive all the way to Tate City.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And now Daddy'd go with her sometime, if it was real rough. But he built a metal top on the thing where you could stay on it. But
A little more comfortable.
if anywhere in the county, she'd take that old Jeep and go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Friendship Community House, was it you or your daddy that helped build that?
Oh, the new one over there.
Yeah.
It was, well, I helped him on that first old one, but I was the one that helped him. Dwayne helped me design part of it,
Okay.
and David and Stephen helped. But and I got Larry Hedden to come over and build it.
Okay. That's the new one.
Yeah.
But the old one, I guess I'm talking about. I've seen pictures of your daddy and.
Okay, that's the one out there through the Denton Street.
Yeah, through the Denton Street.
Now I'm gonna put another history on you.
All right.
Do you know where Winston Farmers lived out there?
Yeah.
And that little old building's that built out. That's the first clubhouse we built.
Oh, really?
We built that little clubhouse out there. Jan and Caldwell, I remember, lived there.
Okay.
And they went, there's their land, so we built that.
Mm.
You used to have a square dance and everything there.
Okay.
And then we come over there and built that where the Wild Hog place is.
Yeah. I've seen old pictures, but I know it had your daddy in it.
Yeah.
I think Carl Kimsey
Yeah.
and maybe Harold Kimsey.
Yeah, Harold, yeah.
And
Nola May,
Ola May and
old Dana Caldwell and Jim.
yeah, there's a lot of people I remember in it.
And then we built the one through the street. It just wasn't big enough,
Right.
And Steve said, now, Daddy, you better build this thing big enough for. But them beams is pretty on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Them things weighed 1,500 pounds apiece. We tried to get a winch, but old Larry had see he built it, and then that big tree fell and cut it in half in two. We had to build it again.
Yeah.
But you can't tell he's never been touched. Looks just like this.
Larry's a good builder.
The Larry's a good boy, I think.
Yeah.
But you slip down there and listen to a preacher. You be all three of you. He don't stand to get with it.
I might do that one.
Now he knows the Bible, baby. He knows it, but he is has to. There's no Stephen that kept on him, you know.
Yeah.
And he's tickled to death now, old Stan is, you can tell.
Well, that's good.
But he's got the church full.
Well, good.
That's good.
We're going to have to put some chairs down the aisle or move back to the fellowship hall.
Maybe go to 2 services. I know somebody else doing that.
Yeah, I do too.
At fellowship hall, I put French doors all the way down the side. And then there's a patio out there that overhangs. And you can put chairs out there. We had one funeral there. I can't think of the name of it. And we had that place full, buddy. Even out on the outside.
Mm.
So we can see a lot of people.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And if you ever need to come down there and hang out, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Well, y'all ain't got anything else.
No,
Yeah,
that's not all I get.
about covered all.
When you get home, you'll think just like me.
Well,
But
that's something else.
Well, yeah, you always do. Yeah.
Well, we got a lot more ground covered this time.
well,
Yeah.
that's good.
Hopefully the camera's working this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still on, so.
That's
Thank you,
good.
Morris.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Morris.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, there ain't a whole lot of my bunch left. Bunch of them I went to school with, boy, just keep click, click, click.